The Blundstone Chelsea is a boot that might be as iconic and influential as like Clark's Desert Boot, Timberland's Waterproof Boot, or Dr Martens' Combat Boot, almost. And like those three boots, the Blundstone is not really resoleable or especially durable when compared to pricier options, but it's so beloved, comfortable, functional, and well priced that it remains one of the public's most beloved boots. Dr Martens, though, if the analytics on my website are to be believed, remains the most popular of all of those brands I just mentioned. So if you want a Chelsea boot and Dr Martens makes a Chelsea boot, is this the most worth it? And in this video, I'm gonna break down what you need to know. I'm Nick, by the way, hi. This channel is called Stridewise. It's also a website. We look at casual and durable menswear and footwear, mostly boots. I haven't figured out if boots count as menswear, but subscribe if that sounds like stuff you're interested in. This is the Blundstone 585. It costs $200 and is made in Thailand. This is the Dr Martens 2976. It costs $180 and is made in Vietnam. Both brands are not forthcoming about where they're made. Neither of them say so on their website's product page. I had to check the labels on the boots themselves. Blunnies have a bit more of a country kind of feel to them. Doc's a bit more urban. For most guys, the choice will come down to that or the price. Usually I would say a $20 price difference is negligible, but for folks shopping for boots in this price bracket, that can be a deciding factor. 20 bucks is a whole 10% price difference after all, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that 20 bucks being what makes or breaks the decision, but they do have very different feels to them. So when I tell you that largely the rest of it, there aren't massive differences, it really is just about what look you vibe with the best. This one's a little bit more rustic, this one's a little bit more urban, but both are largely interchangeable in most ways. But unless you really like the look of this Dr Marten, which is fine, I would recommend the Blundstone. I'll give you a few reasons why, but it's mostly fit and sizing and comfort, which are reasons that all kind of bleed into each other. So I was gonna make this video like 5 reasons why, blah, 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 but instead I'm just gonna talk about boots. The main reason I'd suggest the Blundstones is the fit and sizing. There are 4 things I mean by that. Number 1, the Blundstones are just a little bit roomier in the toe, so I find them a little more comfortable. Number 2, you can easily remove the insole of Blunnies if you need to adjust the fit or use an orthotic. 3, Blundstone also gives you an extra pair of insoles if you need to tighten the fit a bit, which is great, especially for laceless boots like this. And number 4, the most important difference maybe is that Blundstones have half sizes and Docs do not. Sizing on Docs also run from 6 to 14 for men, Blundstones from 4 to 14. So in total, Blundstone offers more than twice the sizes, something that is, again, especially important for laceless footwear like these. And while which size you should order isn't really pertinent to this quality comparison, it is what a lot of people come to videos like this looking for, and both of these brands are foreign. When I say foreign, I am actually an American here, but these are British boots, the company. This is an Australian company. I am a 12 US in most sneakers. I'm filming this in New York. My size on the Brannock device, which is the sizing device you get in the shoe store, is 11.5. In most sneakers, I'm a 12. In most boots, I'm an 11. So in the Docs here, I'm an 11 US, which is a 10 UK. And they fit pretty well despite there not being half sizes. So if you're in between sizes like me, you're meant to size down in the Dr Martens. Although I will note that if I'm wearing thick socks, I do feel myself bumping up a little bit just sometimes against the end of the boot here. So getting true to size would be ideal if these are gonna be mostly winter boots. But only half of people can do that. To make things more confusing for the Blundstone, in these I'm a 10.5. That is the size stamped on the bottom of the boot. But whatever stamped on the bottom of the boot is your UK size. My true size on the Brannock device is 11.5. I ordered the 11.5 off the US website, and they helpfully tell you to ignore the size that you get on the sole of the boot. So don't even think about how UK sizing works. If you really are wearing thick socks, then you might want to consider going even a half size larger in your US size, which would probably be your actual sneaker size. All guys think that they are a good half size bigger than they actually are because sneakers run small and guys love to think that they've got really gigantic feet. So you really should go and pretend that you're gonna go buy some shoes and get yourself sized. Important note, if you do buy these boots and you size them a little big for winter, I strongly urge you to buy these $10 tongue pads from this company called Pedag, this German company. You just stick them here on the instep because your fit in a Chelsea has actually kind of more to do with the instep than like the heel of the toe. So if your Chelseas are a little big, you get one of these tongue pads, stick them here, and then they fit you just fine. It's like magic. So it's not the biggest problem in the world if your Chelseas wind up a little big. And your other option is to add an extra insole in there. Those are the only 2 options you really have when it comes to making 2 big Chelseas fit right. And again, fortunately, Blundstone gives you an extra pair of insoles in case it happens to you. The fit leads into the comfort. Again, the Blundstones have a roomier toe. The Docs also need more breaking in, like the Blundstones are more comfy out of the box. That has a bit to do with how the leather's made, but the break-in also has a lot to do with the construction underfoot. So let's talk about that. Now, if you like stylish boots that are both durable and inexpensive, you might want a wristwatch that is as well, which is why this video, really quickly, is sponsored by Vaer and their extremely good C3 Korean field watch. Link in description. And don't skip this because you're assuming a nice watch is going to be really expensive, But Vaer is very well known for their value in this space. And this guy is assembled here in the United States. It's 10 ATM waterproof and it costs just 279 bucks. A lot of guys prefer more expensive hand-wound automatic watches. Personally, I've owned a lot of them and Vaer sells a lot of them, so I shouldn't talk them too much. But honestly, those hand-wound watches, the engineering is more sophisticated, yes, but it means they break more easily, they cost more to maintain, and they're actually less accurate than quartz. So this is quartz, but what elevates it is that it's solar quartz. The battery charges in the sun. 6 hours of sunlight gives you 6 months of battery life, which I really like. And I think it's a really cool way you bridge like the benefits of quartz and the like perpetuity of an automatic watch, you know? This model is also an homage to the service watches worn by Allied soldiers in the Korean War in the 1950s. It comes with this really cool engraving on the case back. You can get it in a bigger size in this one if you prefer. And I've got a bunch of other cool solar quartz watches from Vaer as well. I wear this blue C5 one all the time. So thanks to Vaer for your support. And the link to this is in the description below. Now, neither boot is really resoleable. That probably isn't a priority if you're looking at boots like this, but it might be a surprise for Dr Martens fans because these boots are marketed as having Goodyear welt construction, which ordinarily means it's very easy to resole. However, with Dr Martens, they melt this sole onto a synthetic welt with flame, which I will admit is very cool. And I will emphasize that compared to your average sneakers or most shoes in the world, which basically glue the upper to the sole, Docs really are much more durable, and they are technically a Goodyear welt because of the fact that they have that synthetic welt there. Like the sole is a million times less likely to peel off. But because the sole is melted on with flame and because the welt is synthetic instead of leather, these two things combined, but mostly the flame thing, mean that it's extremely hard to resole these and most cobblers won't do it. So just because it says Goodyear welt on it, that does mean more durable and more water resistant than sneakers, like by a million miles. So you do get that with it, but resoling is pretty hard. There are some cobblers who specialize in it, but generally they'll say no. And they'll also say no to resoling the Blundstones because they're not Goodyear welted, they're cemented, they're glued on. Then again, Blundstones don't pretend to be resolable, so that's nice. There are benefits to cemented construction like this. It's not just like Goodyear welt or bust, like a lot of guys say. This construction actually makes them 25% heavier than the Blundstones. I weighed them. And also, like a lot of cemented footwear, the Blundstones are a lot more geared toward comfort and shock absorption and lightness and flexibility. Like they can go a bit further in that direction than the Dr Martens because Dr Martens tries to have a Goodyear welt construction, you know, without half the benefits of an actual Goodyear welt construction. Because Docs have this kind of half-hearted attempt to be quasi-resolable, they just don't manage the kind of comfort that the Blundstones kind of went all in on. To be clear, they're both very shock absorbent, especially for boots. Blundstones have the edge, but there's not an earth-shattering difference between the two. I would put more emphasis on the difference in weight and flexibility, which is a bigger differentiator when comparing these two boots. This is a cemented boot. This is a Goodyear welted boot. Which one is more waterproof, you might be asking? I took them out for a walk in the rain the other day. I went out wearing both of these the last time it was raining here in New York, and my hypothesis was correct. It is true that practically any cemented sneaker is worse in rain than a Goodyear welted boot. Like Goodyear welted boots are very water resistant. However, most cemented boots actually tend to be more waterproof than Goodyear welted ones. Like if you're looking for a waterproof boot that's advertised as such, they're basically never resolable. And even though the Blundstones aren't sold as waterproof, after 5 full minutes of standing underwater, the Dr Martens flooded first and they lost the contest between the two. Now, let's have some perspective here. That's still 5 minutes of dry feet in both, like fully submerged. Both boots are perfectly rainproof, practically speaking. You're not going to be literally submerged in water for several minutes on end while it's raining. And I would also not recommend the Blundstones for actual waterproof use, like standing in a lake fishing, right? So practically speaking, both really are fine for rain. The main takeaway is that the Docs are neither waterproof nor resolable. The Blundstones are more waterproof than you might think. And since we're talking about the sole, I think the most important difference in the outsole specifically is that the lugs are a lot more shallow in the Docs. Like you can see it here. Docs kind of famously, they lose their grip more quickly with wear than something with deeper lugs like this. So that is a bonus that the Blundstones have. And also, again, because the Blundstones are cemented, overall, the comfort is closer to what I would call sneaker-like. Like if you have to run for a bus, it's a lot easier to do that in Blundstones. They have like a bit more rebound and that kind of stuff. But although again, compared to traditionally made boots, Dr Martens have really, really good shock absorption. They are still head and shoulders against a lot of more expensive boots. The only other thing worth touching on is the leathers available. Now, these are both the best-selling leathers in these models. Now, neither of these leathers is very good. To be fair, they're not priced like expensive boots though, so like I don't think that's a massive deal. But the Blundstones leather is a bit better than the Docs. This leather here is very heavily corrected, like very heavily sanded down. The grain of the leather is not really visible because it's got a very heavily pigmented finish. in addition to being very heavily corrected. So there's no character or grain or color variation or any of the stuff that a lot of people like about leather on these leather boots. That said, it is a look, and a lot of people really like leather like this. And it's pretty hard to make expensive leather that looks like this sort of smooth and glossy look. Again, I'm trying to keep some perspective here to the price and what you might actually want from a pair of boots. You can already see it here. The Blundstones, they have like a bit more color variation. It's a little bit oilier, and it's a little bit more of a dynamic look. But again, you might not prefer that. Neither brand sells a model with leather that looks like the other. So it's mostly about preference, since they don't have a dramatic difference in performance. As for all the leathers they kind of sell, if you land on the Dr Martens product page, the Chelseas, you might think there are just two to choose from. But actually you can get Chelseas in this industrial full grain black. It's not full grain, you can't see the grain at all, but that's what they call it. You can get it in dark tan, a reddish chestnut, this even redder cashew. There's Crazy Horse Brown, which actually is a good option if you want something that looks a little bit more like Blundstones. And there are some nubucks and some vegan ones as well at Dr Martens. Dr Martens are known for having a ton of cool colors, but very few of them are on the Chelseas, sadly. So if you want your bright white or bright green boots, right now, those aren't on the Chelsea. Blundstones, meanwhile, they have 7 other leathers for this model. And like Docs, they've got vegan ones and insulated ones. Although sometimes they don't have the vegan ones on sale. The conclusion is they're both similarly priced casual boots with pretty similar durability. Blundstones have better grip and they're a bit roomy at the toe. They have more sizing options, like more than twice as many sizes, and they are lighter and more flexible and more shock absorbent. So that doesn't sound like I'm saying it's a toss up between the two, but unless you're having trouble with the sizing, which is definitely the biggest thing to think about here, the main thing this comes down to is which boot do you prefer the look of? Just remember that you are about twice as likely to get a perfect fit with Blundstone because they offer twice as many sizes. And as far as functionality goes, Blundstones, I would say, have the edge for being more lightweight and flexible and shock absorbent, and the grip won't wear down as fast, which, since neither of these are resoleable, might be the most important non-aesthetic difference between the two. Blundstones are also not named after a doctor in the German army of World War II, but that's neither here nor there. That's my video. Subscribe if you like stuff on casual and durable footwear and menswear, and I'll catch you for the next video.